Yeah, so Brian, tell us a little bit about the Powerwall Expansion Module, what that is, and is that compatible with my existing Powerwall setup?
Absolutely. So the expansion module is technically a Powerwall 3 expansion module. So I always compare it to your cell phone, right? So you get a cell phone and it has great battery life and it lasts for a day or two, and then over 2 years from now, like you charge it up and then it's down 70% or 50% really quickly, and you might get a case for it that also has a battery in it, and you attach it, and now it gives you expanded capacity for your battery life. The expansion module is very similar. So the Powerwall 3 has the initial unit with the full system, which requires the automatic transfer switch, all the controls, and that's the connection to your service for your home, your electrical service, and how that interacts with your home and the grid and potentially your solar system or other peripheral devices in your energy system. Excuse me. Whereas the expansion module is just giving you extra capacity. So that expansion module has to be with a Powerwall 3 product. It can't be used with the former Powerwall 2 or with the Powerwall 1. And it plugs right into the Powerwall 3 through a very simple kind of plug and play daisy chain wire that now gives you additional capacity without all the additional installation and without using up more breaker space. It basically piggybacks off the existing system. So it's able to leverage the controls and the inverter and all of the setup of your initial Powerwall 3 system just to give you more capacity. So it's a really it's a smart way to go about adding additional capacity to a storage system without having to get the full units or undergo maybe additional electrical work or other roadblocks that make it harder or to install.
Is it roughly the same size as the Powerwall 3, or is it smaller?
It looks identically from the front. It is slightly narrower, and it's probably just due to they could make the case and save a little bit on materials to get the same amount of batteries in it, but not needing to accommodate the inverter. So it's essentially, if you looked at them both from the front, they look identical. You couldn't tell the difference. And from the side, if they were both sitting there, you might notice that one is slightly narrower, is all, but they essentially look the same. And they can be literally, they could be stacked on the ground or hung on the wall and stacked, or they could be set side by side next to each other as well.
What kind of additional storage capacity does the expansion module provide?
It provides the same capacity as the Powerwall 3, which is 13.5 kilowatt hours. So it gives you that additional, it doubles the capacity. You can have 3 expansion modules per Powerwall 3 full system, full battery. So it gives you a lot of, again, additional capacity, functionality, and flexibility for installation. And it kind of depends on every homeowner's need and electrical setup on how we would recommend. And also, if you're bringing solar to plug into the Powerwall 3, how much solar you have. Those are all kind of parts of the equation for us to make a recommendation on what the energy storage system would be for a homeowner. Some folks look at it and say, I just want one. And we say, you can do that, but these are the limitations, right? And then an expansion module might open up that functionality, or they might need another full Powerwall 3 if they have a lot of solar, or if they have a lot of electrical or load need at their home. We might say, you can do one, but you're not going to have all of these things. If you did 2, you're going to have all of these things. And then on top of that, you can add DC expansion modules on top of that as well.
So when a customer is getting the Powerwall 3 installed, initially, do you look at their power usage in the event of a power outage, what kind of appliances and lighting and electrical systems, whatever they are likely to need or want during an outage, and that gives you an idea of what kind of capacity they need. So you might recommend, we think you should recommend I mean, we think that you should install the Powerwall 3 and an expansion module at the same time, or do you recommend that people just like start with the regular Powerwall 3, see whether or not it provides them enough power, and then they can always add the expansion module later?
Really, really great question. And I probably should have touched on this, so thank you for bringing it up. That there's two things, right? So there's power, which is kind of the instantaneous need, and that's going to be how many appliances and how much of your home can be supported by a Powerwall 3. And then there's capacity or longevity, like how long is that going to last? And that's where the expansion modules really come in, is how long can that last? Like, given what you're doing and how long you want to do it for, those are the limitations, right? And we have to design and install a battery system, regardless of what it is and how many pieces and parts and how big they or little they want to go. It has to be designed and installed as if there's a power outage and there's no solar or anything to charge it. So we have to, it's like a fail safe. So whenever we install a battery system, it has to be thought of the capacity and the power of that unit alone. So we do absolutely need to take a really close look at customers' main service panel, any sub panels, depending on the size of their service. And there's a basic load calculation that we need to do based on the square footage of the house. And that's kind of like the baseline. And then we need to look at really the individual loads. So, for instance, a lot of folks are electrifying, right, across the board. That's a big movement. And folks are putting in whole home heat pumps. They're electrifying with your washing, drying, cooking, and domestic hot water heating. And then folks are getting EVs or plug-in EVs, and all those are resources that have a higher energy draw, electricity draw. So it has a higher power need, and then depends on how long you want to use it for. So a lot of times we need to take a close look at that and make decisions and say, okay, we need to remove, like, you can't have your dryer and you can't have air conditioning in an outage. And these are common sense things as well, right? And then we want to make sure that folks have heat, they have a cooking surface, they have their fridge, they have their basic lights, outlets, Wi-Fi, and basically that would give them most of their creature comforts as well. So we look at those pieces, and then we have to make decisions. And that's when we make a recommendation like, hey, we can give you everything. It's just not going to last very long, so you should add a expansion module. Or, hey, you can only have half your house. You need to have 2 Powerwall 3s with the full inverter, the full setup to get you everything that you need. So that's kind of where those decisions are made. And a lot of times we can go with a Powerwall 3 with 1 battery, and then you see how it goes, and then you want more capacity, we can add the expansion modules later on, because you need to have the full setup in order to get the expansion modules as it is. So you don't have to get the expansion modules right away. In some cases, they know that they want that like, yeah, you can have it. It's going to last for 1 hour. And they're like, okay, well, that doesn't work for me. So I'm going to add some capacity to that.
Right. And just to clarify, so the Powerwall 3 itself determines what the capacity is, like how many different things you can run at the same time. And then the additional expansion module just gives you more time with those devices.
Yeah. And they have a high, they have a high amperage threshold, the Powerwall 3s. It's double what the previous generation of Powerwall had and what most battery systems do have. So it can support much higher loads. But then it comes down to time, right? So yeah, we can back up that heat pump system, but it's only going to work for 2 hours. So you want to add capacity, which is where the expansion unit comes in and gives you more time with that as well.
Right. Okay. What's the estimated cost of a expansion module, including installation?
So we install them for $12,000, and that's the same thing. That's a fully turnkey solution that is site inspection, design, engineering. We pull all the permits, do the utility applications, provide a professional set of billing plans and a 1-line diagram for the customer to approve. All the commissioning support on the app, we set all that up on it for our customers, and also manage the warranty and any service that they may need. And again, it does qualify for the federal tax credit, and it does give you the opportunity to opt into a virtual power plant, or what we call here the Connected Solutions programs, which are available in EverSource and National Grid. And these are incentives that pay you cash on an annual basis to help offset your investment of an energy storage system, or in this case, an expansion to your energy storage system. So it gives you more time, which is part of the calculation for that incentive as well. So you're able to get more money, and it's paid annually for the next 5 years. And obviously, along with the tax credit, helps offset your investment.